All right, guys. Well, hey, we're back here in room one at Note Camp 5.0. Kicking off our first speaker of the day is the man, the myth, the title and due diligence legend, Mr. Alex Goldovsky from Pro Title USA. He's joined us all the way from Philadelphia, if I'm correct. Right, Alex?
Yep, Eagles land.
Oh, don't say that. I'll have to boot you out of here. Well, hey, man, we're glad you're here. I won't hold it against you. We'll just say the land of Villanova. How's that sound?
That's perfect.
That's perfect. Okay. So, cool. You got a slide you want to talk about, or you want to share a little bit of stuff with people before they get rock and rolling? How do you want to do that?
Yeah, sure. Let me first tell you about what we're going to talk about. If you have attended my prior seminars with Scott, I dove into educating people on some of the basics. Title 101, what to look for. I hope that you already looked over those presentations. There are videos available. Contact Scott if you need them again. Today, I wanted to spend some time on how do you go from buying one loan to scaling to buying 10, 100, thousands of loans, and how you utilize us to have a better scalability for growing your business.
Cool. Good stuff. I love it.
All right. So we're ready to get rolling?
We're ready to get rock and roll, brother.
All right. So let me start sharing my screen.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to close down my video here so they just see you and your slides there.
Right. Okay. There you go. I hope that I did things right. Let's see. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, you just got to put it in presentation mode. So.
All right, I'm trying to. Oh. Went away somewhere. All right, so while we're waiting for my presentation to, here you go. Is it now sharing, Scott?
No, we still see the full thing. So there should be a button down at the bottom.
No, I know where the bottom to share.
Yeah, you share, but there should also be a little thing that says presentation mode on it. Or if you go up to the top, you said where it says slideshow. You can use that as well.
Oh yeah, it says resume share. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. There you go. All right. Let's try it again.
There
now
you
it
go.
should work.
Perfect.
Excellent. Sorry, everybody. All right, let's get started. So first of all, a little bit about Pro Title, who we are, what we do. For folks that are dialing in for the first time, I hope that we're going to be a company of choice when it comes to title due diligence. When you listen to Scott, he always says, you know, title is very important, BPO is very important. You got to run your numbers. You got to know your risk level. You got to know your liens that survive the foreclosure and attach to the property. And you have to know what you're getting from us and what you're not getting from us. All right. So, you know, we have a few interesting emails that I don't want to share with you, but I'll tell you about them. So I don't disclose who they're from. But those emails highlight some of the dangers that you have to be aware as the note investor, and you have to know up front before you say, well, I got my BPO, I got my title, I'm done. You know you're not. And let's talk about that a little bit. So first, what you're getting from us is the commodity products. It's the O&E report, current owner search, the prelim report if you're in California. So we do all that nationwide. And we have an ability to analyze the data and present it in a format where we massage the data and we tell you which liens will survive the foreclosure, which liens you have to worry about, which liens that you don't care about. So all of that we massage for you. We present it in a form where you can understand. What we don't give you, and that's a separate service, is something called a township level search, which searches the code violations, environmental liens, code enforcement liens, permit violations. So all of that data is located in the townships. So in a few cases where the investor, note investor, I would say unexperienced note investor, ordered an O&E report, ordered the BPO, everything looked clean. I think the property was in Michigan. And then they call me and say, Alex, you just missed a $5,000 lien. I go, that's unlikely. You know, we're typically 99% accurate. And we start talking about it, and the investor figured out that the lien is posted by a township, never recorded. It's kept at the township level as well. Now, you have to remember that what we cover for are all the liens recorded at the county level, and sometimes, and some townships, they record or keep the liens in their own departments, code enforcement departments or permit violation department, and you have to have a separate call made to the township to find out, are there any active code violation liens? Are there any permit violations? Which might not carry any monetary value, right? So let's say that the borrower who you bought the mortgage for built a deck without a permit. The township will say, well, there's a permit violation. He built a deck without a permit. And they have, let's say, 120 days to fix this, or get the inspector there and inspect the deck and get a permit. If this is not done, the township has the right to demolish the structure without the permit. And by the way, it's attached to the property. So now you have various issues to deal with, and all of a sudden, the permit violation, which carries $0 on the face of the violation, creates a big headache for you. So you really want to be sure that when you buy one note, two notes at a time, you call the township and you go through the department by the department, and you figure out which department has code violations, which department has permit violations. You ask for the water and sewer account balance if it's available for you. Sometimes they ask for borrower authorization or last 4 digits of the social for the borrower, which you may or may not have. But those things stick to the property. They're typically held within the township itself and not available in a title search. So right off the bat, I wanted to mention to you that BPO and the title search will give you 90% of things that you need to know about. The 10% are township searches, water and sewer balance, HOA balance, which will survive the foreclosure and can be significant. I've seen investors buying properties, you know, as an example, in the city of Philadelphia, and not worrying about utilities, and then getting a bill for $20,000 in utilities, gas, water, sewer, that they didn't know they had to pay off, and they do. Water and sewer and utility charges in city of Philadelphia or Philadelphia counties attached to the property from the prior owner to the new owner. And that's the same for 50% of the United States. You also have to, if you're in seconds market, you have to do bankruptcy scrubs, right? So that's a part of the workflow. We have a service that's called mobile home validation. If you're buying in rural areas where mobile homes are popular, you really want to make sure that you are checking for correct mobile home conversions. And we have various services as an add-on for water, sewer, and HOA payoffs. But as I mentioned before, if you're just ordering the O&E report or current owner search from us, you're not getting the add-on service. And some people really got punished for not doing that. Somebody will ask, what's the price for the township search? We charge $35 for it. So $35 is our time on the phone calling all the departments in the township to figure out if the property is free and clear of anything that can potentially hurt you. When you're scaling to buying 10, 20 loans at a time, we start helping you with analysis of the data, okay? So we have something called portfolio level title exam and the dashboard, where we check for mortgage enforceability, we check for lien positioning, we check for all the liens capable of foreclosure per state. Some liens you probably didn't even expect. As an example, City of Baltimore utility lien can foreclose out the mortgage. And this is something that you'll probably learn for the first time what I'll say today. You know about the 22 HOA super lien states where HOA can foreclose on the property, and then 2 states Nevada and Massachusetts, it can wipe off the mortgage altogether. Otherwise, it's subject to the first position lien. I just found out that at least 3 large servicers are losing enormous amount of money in Texas on HOA foreclosures. So Texas, even though it's not a HOA super lien state, has provisions in the selective communities, such as the Woodlands, that based on the bylaws and declaration, the HOA is only junior to purchase money mortgage and not the refi mortgage. And they make this distinction where they say, well, if you refinanced your home, okay, and you no longer have a purchase money mortgage, you purchased a refinanced mortgage, our HOA lien will be superior to your mortgage and a higher position and will wipe you off. I did not believe it, but 2 servicers saying that for the selected communities in Texas, there's a provision in bylaws that will allow them to foreclose out the mortgage, and they write it off. The attorneys are not capable to recover them. So you really have to be very careful on not just the HOAs in 22 super lien states, but also HOAs in Texas. So we have the logic to pinpoint those HOA communities and tell you, hey, you got to take care of the HOA lien, otherwise they have a power to foreclose out the mortgage. Personally, I did not know that as of 2 weeks ago, so I'm hoping that you're learning at the same time as me. So obviously you have to watch out for the assignment breaks, vesting issues. We do that work when you're scaling up. We have something called a title exam and underwriting. We charge $35 for it, and we go page by page review. But we have to know what exactly you need upfront before you place the order with us. So some folks said, well, we have an O&E with you and we placed it a year ago. Can you do all those services? The answer is yes, but we typically, don't like doing this. We have to jump through many hoops to place the order the right way. So we prefer folks telling us we need O&E, and by the way, we need a township search. We need the asset level dashboard, which we'll chat about it later. And also we need the title exam with the page-by-page reviews. We have products for the second position market. I wanted to touch on reverse mortgage as the out-of-box thinking opportunity for every investor. It's not as popular now, but I see such a momentum for reverse mortgages in the market today. So the first position liens are being snatched from Fannie, Freddie, and HUD sales by guys like Credit Suisse and Goldman Sachs. You're not going to see those loans. So where do we find product? Well, obviously there's contract for deeds, there's second position liens, and I'm seeing more and more momentum on the reverse mortgage front as well. So we'll touch on that, and I'll tell you a little bit about the market aspect of the reverse mortgages and some of the mini education on what those mortgages entail, why they're interesting from the investment perspective, and where to get them. So something new that we launched asset level dashboard. I think we touched on that last note camp, and we have the API so anybody can tap into our system, place an order with a push of a button, and get all the metadata back to you if you are using somebody's system. Let's say you're building your own servicing system or platform, or how you approach the winning the bids. You can have a lot of our data over the API, which is server to server secured communication. So everything is done through the internet rather than the emails, faxes, or spreadsheets. Now, we also launched something called the Proton 1. It's a title insurance, currently licensed in New York, New Jersey, PA, and Florida, and we're capable of doing the mobile notary nationwide for, say, months. If you have If you're working out the loans and you need to send the mobile notary to sign with the borrower, we have a capability to do that. Just a few final thoughts. We are Inc. 5000 company for the 3 consecutive years, and it's going to be 4th year this year. We'll probably announce it in about 2 months. And those little pins, that's our office locations. So I also wanted to advise you that there's a book out there. If you missed Scott Carson sessions, if you missed prior note camps, or you didn't hear me talk about some of the liens, I have to thank Scott Carson and his audience for encouraging me to write a book. I had 2 folks approach me probably 3 years ago and said, listen, you got to write the book. It's too much information. Can you put all your thoughts on the liens and how to cure them, resolve them, what to look for in the book? And that's exactly what I did. I launched the book in January. It took me a year and a half to write. And that's what it is. It's on Amazon right now. I believe Scott might have a way to get it with a discount, but you have to talk to Scott about it. This is some
great book there, Alex. It's a phenomenal book, buddy.
Thank you. So it's really going through the liens. If you look at the chapters and content, talks about everything you need to know. All right. It gives you examples. It gives you things that I would recommend on how to cure them. I think we got to number 8 Amazon bestseller rank, not number 1, unfortunately. I have to compete with Scott's book, so that's why we're number 8. But it's still pretty popular. I'm still getting comments by email. If you have read the book, looking forward for your comment. Certainly, there's some plans on putting the second book together, probably in the next couple of years. All right. So let's chat about the life cycle of the loan, right? We are playing in that middle part of note buying, right? So typically, if you're analyzing the market and saying, well, where are the product? Who do I see when I go and buy products? So what you guys see are typically a secondary market, capital market products that are falling through the chain of tiers of the large hedge funds down to you. So when Fannie, Freddie, HUD, or private sales like Bank of America sells in thousands, we typically get involved. And some of the largest buyers in the U.S. are, Lone Stars and Bayviews, Rock Tops, and Pretium, Angelo Gordon. So they all accumulate a lot of product. Then they in thousands, right? As an example, Goldman Sachs bought, or Credit Suisse bought 20,000 loans, multi-billion-dollar transaction. Goldman Sachs bought 10,000 loans on the recent Fannie Mae trade or Freddie Mac trade. So they're accumulating thousands and thousands of loans, and then they leave the best for them, and some of the dirty files they want to sell down the line. Then you have tier 2 buyers that mid-size hedge funds or some of the large hedge funds getting the dirty products. I don't want to give examples, but some folks that we deal with, they buy in hundreds, and then they end up going through some of the smaller chunks, smaller sales down to you. So I have that highlighted as resale and flip on the bottom, and certainly boarding them with the servicer. So we typically get involved in a lot of the aspects of the sale itself, underwriting. We're helping servicers to board the loans, and obviously we play a big part in exit strategies where you or some of the funds or the servicers schedule a loan for deed in lieu of foreclosure or short sale, and or a foreclosure by an attorney of your choice or attorney that is selected by the servicer. So we can certainly help you in any stage of the process. And if you are an investor, we can help you in diligence. If you are an attorney, foreclosure attorney, or a servicer, we can help you in your respective plays on the life cycle of the mortgage. So what makes us unique? So this is something I was thinking about. How do I present to you or to some of the larger clients, what makes us unique and why we're so different, why people talk about pro title. I come from IT background. So I come from IT engineering, marketing background. And what I learned in my corporate career is I really have to pay attention to data management. So it was a challenge for me to convert an old-fashioned real estate industry that prints out all the documents and reviews things by hand to a full automation, self-learning AI engines that will not only consume the data and present the data in the right format, but also give the data as crisp as possible so you can reuse it for preparing the documents, preparing the assignments, preparing the releases, preparing the mods. So all of the data that we provide to our clients are already vetted for being crisp and can be reused. So when you're comparing the standard delivery, of the title search, you have many, many vendors, right? You have local vendors, nationwide vendors, you have vendors that are in India, and this is actually a representation of what you get with them. Typically, the company in India or somebody who is located in the US and offshoring to India, this is the real quality score that we receive from somebody who outsources. 75 to 79% accuracy. So that was amazing to me, because in your business and in my business, if you get 75% of accuracy product, you're missing millions of dollars worth of liens, and you get punished for it. This would work, the quality would work for somebody like a big bank like JP Morgan and Chase that uses the offshore for preparing assignments or releases, and if they screw up on 20% of those assignments, that's okay. They'll file the corrective ones. So there's always a way to fix their errors, but they can produce thousands and thousands of assignments, and it's very hard to do the same for US-based company. If you deal with in-county searcher, so in other words, somebody in that county, you send them to the county office, they do research, and you get a handwritten format title report, which cannot be reused in any way. If they search the wrong property, just because you have an error in the data tape, you have to pay them again to go out and search a different property. Then you do a data keying and you do all this good stuff that I have in orange. What we do for our clients, we've found a way to automate the whole workflow of underwriting and getting the title searches in a common format in our system, where we start analyzing the data. We do lien tagging, we verify that all the liens are tagged correctly. The state-specific laws are applied. We divide the liens by the liens that survive the foreclosure or liens that are covered by title policies. We scrap the data, verify the position. We have a service that checks the legal description across the assignments and mortgages and deeds, which is super important. That's the number one aspect of why the foreclosures fail. They foreclose on their own properties, or they file the foreclosure on their own properties. They have to stop the foreclosure and refile it again. So it's super, super important to make sure that you have an enforceable lien on the right property based on the legal description. If you remember my prior sessions, legal description is a king in the mortgage documents. Address doesn't matter. Parcel number might not be accurate. Legal description is a king on all the documents. If you have correct legal, nothing else matters. Okay, so let's touch on some of the things that will help you to go from 1 loan to 10 loans to 100 loans with us or with anybody else if you choose. So you send us a data tape-like format Excel, and you say, ProTitle, go ahead and run the only reports for me. If you're doing one only at a time, you get a PDF file from us. If you are doing a volume, let's say 10, 20 files, we can do a dashboard for you. So besides the PDF files with all the copies, you get an Excel, you get the fully analyzed title reports in Excel for lien position, lien enforcement, the taxes, the lien tagging and grouping, and which liens will survive the foreclosure. We also have, well, this one has a Freddie Mac, but number 4, we come up with the pass and fail report criteria. So in other words, if you have a certain criteria that will fail the asset, okay, in other words, if you see an HOA lien foreclosure in Nevada, you want to kick that asset back to the seller. You don't want to deal with figuring out if you're too late to pay the HOA when HOA forecloses and wipes you off. If there's a tax deed and it's past redemption, you know, your criteria would be, I want to kick that asset back to the seller, okay, or really pay 0 for it as the unsecured lien. So you can really build up a matrix of what is your criteria when you talk to the seller? What is your tolerance of municipal liens, right, as the percentage to the UPB? We can build that logic into our system specific to you as a client. So when you are growing in volume and buying more assets, we can certainly help in creating a unique criteria for you to dismiss the assets, kick them back, or assign some number on how much would it be to cure. Let's see. We have something called issue remedy recommendation spreadsheet. So this has also been deployed for some of the largest servicers. Not only we bring out the issues with the title exam. So we do a title exam, which is, I said, $35 per asset. And we have a selection of 240 issues or title defects per file that we can pull, and then we can suggest the way to, or recommend the way to cure them. So those type of things we can also do with further follow-up on title policy claims, right? When you're buying an asset, you're verifying that the title policy for the loan you're buying is present, and what you can do as the owner of that mortgage with that title policy, you can file a title policy claim for any prior liens or origination level defects that we find, okay? Sometimes they will only cover you in the event of the loss. So if you're foreclosing the property and let's say after the foreclosure you're trying to resell the property, you can't, that's an event of the loss, okay? If you have to pay off a prior mortgage that was not released, that's event of the loss. So you really have to be careful about, you know, how far do you want to push the title policy claims to be compensated for any loss that you're covered for, okay? So maybe initially file a title claim on any defects, get the response, maybe they indemnify you and send you a letter stating that will cover you in the event of the loss. So that's step 1. And then when you incur the loss, you file a follow-up claim and they have to pay. Okay, so this is one of the examples that we currently do. Again, it's called a lien-only asset level dashboard. It's free. Now, let me explain what folks did with us when they heard the word free. Folks would call us and say, hey, I want to get a free asset level lien dashboard without the only report. you would go, guys, we can only do it on top of the O&E report. So you have to pay an order the title search or O&E report, and on top of it, we'll put this reporting structure as a first page. So we had a few arguments saying that, but you said it's free, and I still say it's free, but it sits on top of our O&E report. You have to get it, and we have to know ahead of time that you need that lien asset level dashboard on top of your report. It has to be ordered with that snippet of code that will produce the reporting for you. Again, we can do it after the fact, but it's jumping through hoops. For some cases, we couldn't do it. For some cases, we could. So when you are planning to use it, make sure that you let us know ahead of time before you place the order. Okay. So this example shows you that we developed a few grades for the assets. Grade A is free and clear, right? So that's our stamp of approval for any liens that would survive the foreclosure. And remember, does not include the township liens, right? So that's something that is completely separate from the O&E report, from title search. You have to call the township if you're buying one asset at a time. If you're buying multiple assets, you can ask us to do it, or you can schedule somebody in your team to call the township where the property is located and go through all the departments to verify that there are no code enforcement liens, no permit violations, and so on. So in this particular example, there's a prior mortgage for $303,000. You're covered by title policy. There are judgments that predate the mortgage for $2,886. You're covered for those by title policy. There's a state tax lien warrant. It does not survive the foreclosure. And there's a tax lien or forfeitures for $2,300 plus. But that survives the foreclosure. So if you see on the analysis, right, this should be in your final analysis when you're ready to negotiate with the seller, how much liens in amounts would survive the foreclosure, right? And in this case, it's 2359. And the reason we gave C as an asset score is because you're dealing with delinquent taxes. And that's the number one reason for losing the mortgages, right? It's not paying attention to the taxes. It's not knowing the redemption years for all the tax certs. So in South Carolina, they can wipe off the mortgage in a year. In Indiana, they can wipe off the mortgage in a year after the tax certificate is sold, all right? So if you see a tax certificate in Indiana and there's a year lapsed after the tax certificate recording date, you're in danger of losing the loan anytime, okay? So that's why for taxes, we always give an asset score C, and non-mortgage lien capable of foreclosure, we give an asset score fail because of the taxes, since they can wipe off the mortgage. We would give the same fail if that would be HOA in Nevada. We would be giving the same fail for Texas HOA, even though it's not a super lien state. But we wanted to make sure that we flag a potential danger to you so you can jump on it and remediate any type of issues with those liens that can potentially hurt you. All right. So one of the things that we did for a number of clients, and this is again for some of the tier 1 clients, they asked us to define the curative buckets. So when we're dealing with thousands of loans, we structure the curative buckets for them. And after we process all the loans, each asset with a given lien type would go in its own bucket. So those things we've done before, they're available. And certainly if you are looking at a large portfolio, you don't know how to approach the curative actions on the whole portfolio. You want to make sure that you preserve your first lien position, you're enforceable, and there are some liens that can really hurt you. We can certainly help you to massage the portfolio and bucketize all the liens and define curative buckets. So now we talk about title exam dashboard. and this is asset level title exam dashboard. This is not free. So this is the sample that I spoke about for reviewing each title page by page and looking at the defects from the asset to kickback perspective, data tape integrity, mortgage origination defects, for example, missing a signature from one of the borrowers or missing a notary, legal description mismatches, which is huge, reverse mortgage specific, non-mortgage lien alerts, and how to cure the defects. So all of that is, again, it's semi-automated, where the title examiner reviews your file and creates recommendations, and that's what you see on the first page of the report. So one thing that we need to do is we need to know you're ordering it before you place an order for the O&E report. This piece of logic attaches to every search placed, and therefore we need to know in advance that we're doing this for you so we can properly present it when the file goes back to you for review. All right, so let's talk about the marketing opportunity on the reverse mortgages. This is something that I wanted to show you so you can start looking into another segment of the market that I don't think you're looking in right now. So reverse mortgages are mortgages given all across the United States to seniors that are 65 years of age or older, okay? So those are mortgages that basically are agreements with the senior citizens that upon their death or any of the default cases, the property goes into the possession of the lender. And senior citizens, they are getting payments every month on behalf of the lender to live in their homes. So their homes by default are homestead, right? So they live there, they claim it as a primary residence, which is great. They maintain the property. Now, if you look at the market segments, this is a snippet of what HUD is reporting. If you look at 1990s, it was not a popular program at all. And right after, or right at the financial crisis of 2007 and 8, you see the numbers for reverse mortgages were in 100,000 mortgages originated. So those are new originations. And every year since that peak, the volume of new originated reverse mortgages was pretty steady, right? So 54, 60, and so on. So it's about 50,000 mortgages originated. And 2018 is only, I think, first quarter. So it'll probably be higher than 55 at the end of 2018. So you see that this is a very steady volume that's currently not addressed by the investing community. It's just starting to peak and ramp up from the perspective of secondary markets. All right. So first is, let's talk about the default events, which means the borrower of the reverse mortgage is defaulted on the agreement. So obviously, if all borrowers are deceased, that was the essential of the agreement where the property goes back to the lender, and it becomes, I don't want to give a verbiage of foreclosed property. It's deed in lieu of foreclosure property. So in other words, the property is going back to the lender, and any and all liens would attach to the property if in the same way as they did in lieu of foreclosure. If there are any liens that are against the borrower, you really have to go through the court, the foreclosure court, and foreclose out those liens. Sometimes the older people, they forget to do certain things that are a part of the agreement they signed with the lender. So some of those, they sell the property to a third party without a life estate. And that's a default event. You're not allowed to do that by the agreement, and it's automatic default. So the agreement is no longer valid. The loan is in default, and you can either foreclose, or you can discuss with the borrower on what they have to do. If the borrower is no longer living in the property, that's also a default event. They have to sign the occupancy compliance permit or affidavit every year. If they don't live on the property, it's automatic default. Sometimes they forget to pay taxes. Borrower pays taxes, right? So they forget to pay taxes, automatic default. They forget to pay water and sewer, and the water and sewer company puts a lien on it, or they forget to pay the HOA. It's automatic default. They're not allowed to have any liens based on their non-payment, because they're getting money from the lender. So some of the sources where you can get this product. Obviously, HUD is ramping up their sales of reverse mortgages. In fact, one of them is coming up on April 11th. All right. I believe it's 500 loans to 1,000 loans. So it's not a big chunk. So they are announcing it as a loan balance worth 136 million. All right. Might be quite a lot of money for some of the investors in the call, but certainly with putting a few investors together, might get to the point of taking down this loan pool. Some of the prior purchasers, Rushmore purchased the prior HUD mortgage reverse pool portfolio. There's more. I think Goldman Sachs has it. Credit Suisse has it. Some of the servicers that's servicing reverse mortgages, RMS, which is Reverse Mortgage Solutions, NationStar, Financial Freedom, CAT, C-Link, etc. So you have sources. And I think, somebody asked me last week, Alex, well, there's not a lot of product on the seconds market. We are all fighting for buying the first liens that, are pretty expensive now. What do you suggest? Well, I tell them, take a look at the reverse mortgage market. Not a lot of investors are playing. Certainly, there's an opportunity there. So now, one thing that we really designed for the reverse mortgages is something called the Junior Lien Certificate, which basically certifies by our title examining department that there are no liens on the reverse mortgage that will hurt the investor. So we are approved by HUD and Novet, their contractor, with our Junior Lien Certificate, and certainly we are considered to be industry experts in reverse mortgages. All right. Some of the folks asked us about, can we get data in different format besides the PDF? The answer is yes. We do a portfolio Excel reporting where the data comes from us in CSV format, or we do an API push and pull. So that's where the data goes from our server into your server or your servicer or your software that you use for managing the deal. We are integrated with many of them, and certainly those two levels of reporting is available by us to you. All right, and this is something that I already mentioned. We have an automation in place where our findings can be automatically put in the body of the email for filing the title claim. So we have that automation in place as well. Example, you're buying 100 loans, you ordered 100 O&E reports from us. And you say, well, I want the dashboard, I want the title exam. So you get the dashboard, you analyze our findings, and you verify all the liens. You get the discount based on our lien reporting, and you can use our title claim automation when you purchase the pool to start automating the title policy claims for the liens that predate the mortgage. Okay, so some clients found it extremely useful to do it on the fly with us. at the right post the diligence cycle and when you lock all the loans that you're purchasing. So you kicked all the bad loans off and you just left with the good loans. And now you want to give yourself a higher insurance rate for all the liens hunting you from before the mortgage. Okay, so if you're interested in some of these products, certainly I can send you more information on that as well. Some of the thoughts that really I want to put in your minds for automation and cost savings is preparing the documents, right? So first is preparing the documents and using our metadata to cut down the cost of doc prep. If you're using somebody who has an ability to take the spreadsheet from us of mortgage level data and upload in their system, your cost per assignment drops by half. So we have this vendor in Houston that is completely integrated with us. When they take our metadata and they upload in their system, the assignment prep fee goes, I don't know, from $35, $40 to $20. So it really cuts down the cost to you by half. So that's one of the cost saving opportunity in our world. Title claims certainly is number two. You can really automate your title claims for all the defects that we bring from the O&E reports, and that will give you a level of insurance that if something goes wrong and there's a prior lien or a prior judgment that can foreclose the mortgage, it's recorded prior to the mortgage, and it can hurt you, you're protected, okay? And the title company will probably send you a letter saying that in the case of the loss, we cover the expense, okay? So that's very important. And certainly think about when you scaling up data reuse for anything you do, building special rules. We're flexible, but also you can be flexible as well by absorbing 1,200 data points from us and writing rules to do something with it, right? So either preparing modification agreements, or preparing the quitclaim deeds, or what have you. We give you the data. You don't have to copy and paste. You don't have to scrape it from PDFs. You can just request the data in a reusable format, either CSV or the connect through the API, and we can certainly deliver that data to you, and you can reuse it and save some money. All right, I think that's my last slide. Yep. So let me open the floor for questions. You can ask me any questions you like.
So we got a couple questions, obviously. Great job as always. Frank Fiore says he needs a Vulcan mind meld brain dump with you, Alex, as knowledgeable as you are.
Well, yeah, so buy a book, read it, come back with questions. Hopefully it'll answer all of your questions.
Couple questions there. So Joe asked a question. So when an asset fails, does that mean another lien can cause foreclosure and wipe out their claim?
If the asset failed, yes. So currently, if the failed is in the category of non-mortgage liens capable of foreclosure, that's a red flag to you. So if there's a tax lien, if there's a HOA lien in super lien state, if there's a water sewer lien in the state or jurisdiction where it can foreclose out the mortgage, the answer is yes.
Okay, so perfect. That answers Joe's question from earlier. Eric asked a question. Alex, you mentioned you help with the boarding of the loan. Can you explain how that works and what you mean by that?
Good question, Eric. By the way, you owe me a drink, Eric, so I'll see you in California. So yeah, boarding is boarding to servicer. So in other words, when you buy a loan, you have to service them, right? So Scott recommends servicers to you. I don't know if you have anybody in the lineup.
We do. We have actually Madison Management and Shantae Duffy will be joining us actually Monday night. I'm giving them their own special slot on Monday night alone for North America. So yeah.
Okay, good. The boarding means they take the loan and they board. They board it within their system. They send goodbye hello letters and they collect payments and they work with the borrower. So that's servicers. When they board the loan, they have to verify that the seller who sold you the loan is the last assignee of record. Okay, they have to verify that everything is kosher, the legal matches, the assignment chain is not broken. They have all power to foreclose on the mortgage. So you have to really monitor that they do everything right. Typically, servicers are, I'd say, not lazy, but they are taking their sweet time on making sure that all the collateral is in the right place. So they have the note. The note is there. They can foreclose. The legal is right. So you really have to stay on top of it to make sure that they have all the ducks in a row before you say, all right, let's foreclose. We tried everything. The borrower is not responsive. So they have everything ready when you're ready to go through any exit strategies.
Yeah, that's a very big important thing. That's why you need to update it, because if you've bought the note for a while and haven't done anything in 6 months or 9 months, you need to recheck what's on there, right, Alex? Right, where you're pulling.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we do something called an update. That's basics, right? You can look at any new liens and judgments and assignments and releases recorded in the present time, right? We're doing updates that bridge the time gap from the title search that we did a year from now to the present time. So you are up to date with everything that's going on in the title.
Mm-hmm. Ronnie asked a question. Can you mention the sources for reverse mortgages again, please?
So the sources are obviously HUD. So buying from HUD, you have to be a qualified investor. So you have to go through all the reviews by HUD to enable bidding on the HUD reverse mortgage pools. So 500 loans, $136 million. God bless you if you have it. Rushmore, Roosevelt, they bought the last pool from HUD. Try to contact servicers. Some of the smaller banks, community banks, they have it in their portfolio. If you are entrenched with them, you can get reverse mortgages from them. But I can tell you that you will start seeing reverse mortgages more and more coming as the alternative strategy this year and next year.
We've seen some already. You're totally right about that. The thing about you have to keep in mind with reverse mortgages, it's not your traditional credit-based mortgage. It's age and then equity-based for the most part. You did a really good job explaining about how the borrowers, as long as there was at 72, as both people are 62 or 72, I can't remember the age.
They changed from 62 to 65 now.
Okay, so I was right. So 65, thank you. If both occupants, husband and spouse, are 65 and they've got some equity there, there's no credit. They don't have a 520 or 550 FICO. What they do is base it off the equity in, like Alex said, it's like an annuity. They pay monthly to the borrowers in some cases if there's enough equity there. So you have to keep in mind that, you're not buying anything with equity. It's underwater or close to being underwater for the most part. But we started to see second mortgages starting to pop up, especially when we're reaching out in banks and asset managers with what we do and stuff like that. So, yeah, you're hitting the nail right in the head. Bob asked the question, what does the acronym TPOL stand for?
Title policy. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay, because there's acronyms. You and I get busy tied down acronyms that we don't always do a Vulcan mind meld with our people, right?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Richard and Joe Fabs asked, hi, Alex, you mentioned Novad. I see them on county records. Please explain what they do again. Thanks.
They're the, let's see. So HUD by itself, Housing and Urban Development, Ben Carson, is not allowed to pay anybody. So they hire contractors like Novad to perform what HUD needs to perform. So Novad is call it a contractor of HUD to basically execute on their behalf.
Just a hired gun.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good stuff. Name of your book again is Bulletproof Due Diligence. All right.
Correct.
Yes, you can find it on Amazon. The easiest way to find it is there on there as well. I still got it. You sent me your login. I'm like, I don't know your login. So I need to order some books from you for our WCN crew members, Alex. So
yes, absolutely. So after you're done with NoteCamp, let's get in a call. Let's order a bunch of books for your audience, and then so get it from Scott. It's going to be well worth it. Give it probably a few weeks, right, to get to your office.
Next week we have our Note Mastermind group in Cape Coral, and then I'm home for a week, and then we are taking a long needed vacation for about a week and a half. So, yeah, but that's okay. We'll get it done. Chad asked a question here. Hey, Alex, how can we add a township and water search on your online order form?
Online doesn't exist. You have to email us. So you have to email and say, please place an order for this property. Please add the township search or water and sewer payoff, however you want to phrase it, as long as folks in the office know what you're talking about. If they don't, they'll come to me, Alex, somebody's ordering this, and I have no idea what they want. So they want the township search and water and sewer title exam. And, once you explain in the email, they'll place it with that service enabled. It's not available online. I can tell you that we're working to enable it online.
Or could we just put it in the comment section?
No, because you're paying for the title report, and the extra fee does not come across. And our searchers typically don't read additional section, and it'll be skipped, and you'll be mad calling me, what the heck are you doing? We asked for this and didn't get it. So email is the best, or you can place an order and then email to the confirmation email stating that, can you please add the township search? That we can do. Township search, water and sewer payoff, we can do as an add-on without anything else. But title exam and asset level dashboard, we need to have your email first. So we enable your order to have that before we place it.
What do you see the biggest mistakes people make in the note business, especially when it comes to their title stuff? What are you seeing?
Too many mistakes. Too many.
They're trying to do cheap and not do anything?
Yeah, the biggest mistake is probably taxes. Second biggest, just because I see those emails and I feel bad for investors, is they completely skip the township searches. I wish I can help, and somebody said, well, I ordered a title, I ordered a BPO, and I got penalized $2,000. And I said, well, I hope you listen to Scott Carson and the seminars, because I keep telling you that title report and BPO only covers you 90%. Mm-hmm. And then it's the township searches, water and sewer, and HOA payoffs. So it's, that I see quite a bit. Not understanding how to read the title report. Mm. Having a title report in your hands, and which tells you and screams at you that don't buy this loan, and you're buying it, and then coming back and saying, but I got the title report. Well, you got to know how to read it, mm-hmm. right? You got to know that the owner is no longer entitled and it was foreclosed or what have you. So in other words, you're buying a loan that doesn't exist. If you'll be very careful and maybe read the comments on, first lien subject to tax foreclosure or HOA. So we show it, and we show it as subject to. In other words, for this particular file, if the mortgage holder was serviced correctly, it's wiped off. That's what it says. So you really have to analyze the data that we are telling you. I've seen some of the mistakes there. But you're showing it on the title report. Yes, but it will say subject to foreclosure, which means if they got served, it's wiped off. So just be careful and read all the comments that we provide for you.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is ordering. It's great, but taking the time to print it out, flip through it, you'll learn more about reading a full title report than going back and asking questions than you will just assume. Right. And what the magic word is about assume, makes an ass out of you and me both, right?
Exactly. Just be careful. You don't have to know the title. You don't have to read the title report page by page. Read the summary page that we provide for you and try to comprehend it. If you're not sure, call us. we'll help you and we'll tell you, no, don't buy. Well, we're not going to advise for you buy or not buy, but we'll at least tell you, well, your mortgage is lost, right? Because A, B, C, and D. Or you have 6 years of delinquent taxes in California, you're about to lose the mortgage to the tax sale. So that we can tell you.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Sometimes it's calling up and just not jumping in line and see what taxes are. Literally pick up the phone, because that's the first red flag I always tell people is like if the person on the mortgage is different than who's on the county, that's usually a red flag right off the bat, right?
Exactly.
And then don't trust what it says on the website is what's owed. You need to actually pick up the phone and call or order, right?
Yeah, so this is exactly right. If you see an owner being different from the borrower, you have to quantify the event that changed the ownership. How does it affect you as the investor? Is it a severe defect where the mortgage is as good as gone, or it's somebody died or interfamily transfers or transfer into the trust? That's okay. You still have the enforceable lien. So that's one. And two is, if you have delinquent taxes on the website, let's say you decided to do your homework, you go there and it says, 2015 taxes delinquent in the amount of $100. Don't assume it's $100. In 2 years, they can accrue tremendous amount of penalties and interests. And you'll end up paying $2,000 instead of $100 or $200. That's a common gotcha in New Jersey. I can tell you that when we process thousands of loans for some of our clients, and there's something called municipal certificate of sale in New Jersey, where if it's old enough, the certificate buyer pays for the consecutive amount of taxes or utilities, whatever the certificate they buy, every year until the present. And they're allowed to charge maximum allowable percent on each certificate for the consecutive year, which is 18%, and penalties and attorney fees. So I've seen many cases where a $200 certificate from 2015 or 14 becomes a $5,000 lien. Huge jump, because you're asking them to pay it off 2 years from now. I've seen that all the time when people assume that, hey, I'll go to the seller and now I'll ask for a discount of $200. And then they go, it's $5,000 now. So Proton, how did you screw up? Well, because we didn't do the township search, we didn't call for the payoff. And you should really watch out for some of the older liens that are sitting there. Typically, the old municipal lien is either paid off and not recorded as a release, or accrues enormous amount of interest and penalties. And you have to call them and get the payoff statement. Okay?
Good stuff. Scott Van Cannon, Scott asks here, is the water sewer HOA search included in the cost of the township search pricing, or is it an additional cost?
Yeah, so HOA payoff additional cost. It's actually a 3-step process where step number 1 is the property subject to HOA. Step number 2, what's the contact for the HOA, right? It's not readily available. Step number 3 is making sure that the payoff information is available to us, because we're not the interest holders, we're not the borrowers. Some HOAs will refuse giving the information to you. Now, we have the benefit of being a title company, so when they see the word title company, probably the sale is going on, and they will give the information to us, either over the phone or by fax. So that's a separate service. Water and sewer is a separate service. So since you don't need the water and sewer payoff in half of the United States, just because it doesn't attach, you can cherry pick the ones that do. So we know those townships, we can order for all of them. This is one of the slowest turn time processes, so don't expect us to be as fast as delivering O&E reports. We're at the mercy of the clerks, and the turn time for some of the water and sewer reports are 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So don't call us 24 hours after and say, where's my water and sewer? You will hear the same response for a period of 2 weeks until you get it.
Good point. And let's talk about that, because what's a time frame on a title report these days without all the extra bonuses? Because the extra bonuses are going to take time. The HOA is a great, you hit it right in the head there. Sometimes the HOA doesn't want to give the information out unless they get paid. They sometimes charge fees for the payoff reports. So What's a normal, if it was a clean thing, what's a normal turn time for a title report?
Oh, the report, yeah. So for the title search, typically it's 48 hours. I don't want to tell you 24 to 48. It's typically 48. We have an option to process the title in 4 hours with the expedite fee of $35 extra. It's available online. So if you log in, you plug in the address, and you see that there's an expedite feature available, you can get your report in 4 business hours. So in other words, if you order on the weekend, you'll get it Monday morning. Now, 48 hours is typical. There's some rural counties. There are some cases where the data is archived, and it takes us a little bit of time to get it from the archives. The chain of title goes back over 30 years. So there's some cases, corner cases, where the title will be a little bit longer, but on average, it's 48 hours.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, that's pretty normal. And there's always exceptions to that rule. For the rural county, like you said, some people are like, "Oh, I didn't get it in 24 hours." I'm like, "Well, where are you buying? Middle of Egypt? Okay, it's gonna take a little while."
Yeah.
Roy has a question: Are most title reports standardized, or does everyone prepare their own version?
No, they're standard. So we came up with the standard way of reporting. So in other words, it doesn't matter if you order in Texas or if you order in California, you get the same looking report. So look and feel is the same.
Right. Well, I meant for you, but other title companies, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah. So we have our own unique title report, which is accepted by title companies as well. We're in title insurance business. And our reports are accepted by Stewart, First American, and Fidelity. So all big title underwriters. In fact, we are the title company ourselves through Pro Title One.
Yeah. And yes, that's 48 hours business hours. If you order at 5 o'clock on a Friday, you're not getting it come Monday morning. Now, let's have a little common sense, everybody.
Yeah. No. Well, we try to rush those files. Listen, but yeah. So it's 2 days. Call it 2 business days. That's probably easier to understand. If you send us, we're processing all the orders on the Eastern time zone. So if you send it to us at 5:05, guess what? The order is getting placed next day in the morning. So it's just keep that in mind, and don't pin us on, hey, 5:05, time starts ticking. No, it's not for us. We are closing the door and the office is closed.
And you're getting home to your wife before she gets too mad, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm not worrying about that until the morning.
Can you ask a question for an unpaid tax certificate? Does the township know the total payoff, or do you have to contact the holder of the tax certificate?
Typically the treasurer knows. There are a few states that will refer you to collection companies or an attorney. So in other words, I think in Alabama, they would refer you to a collection agency responsible for the payoff. In Texas, it's the same thing, right? For the tax mortgages, the less assignee of record that gets the tax certificate or tax mortgage from the treasurer will have the payoff. But most of the time, you get it from the treasurer. They have a communication between themselves and the tax certificate holder. Why? Because tax certificate holder pays consecutive years of taxes. So not only they pay, they expect the payoff to include the principal, interest, treasurer's fee, and attorney's fee.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Good stuff. Scott McCampton says, great stuff, Alex. Thank you. Your book is a must-have. Patty Ped gives you a shout-out. They use you guys for all of her deals. There you go. You love getting some love today from Note Camp. Sylvia has a question. So you've got a portfolio of notes. You've got the bid awarded. What is the minimum reports, or which ones would you suggest we get for firsts or seconds?
Completely different markets.
Yeah.
For the first liens, only order the title reports when you won the bid. Waste of money if you start ordering for diligence before the bid. So on the commercial bids, that's different. All of our commercial buyers, note buyers, they purchase reports pre-bid just because of how much risk they're taking by bidding. So very little, well, the smaller number of assets, and the risk is much bigger. So that's why they're ordering reports. By the way, they're more expensive. So if you're playing in the commercial market, we can quote you the price. Typically, you're looking at 175 to 195 per report on the commercial stuff. For resi, first liens, you order after you locked the pool, you won the bid, and the due diligence time period opens. The day one of due diligence, you want to submit the reports, right? If you're buying from, say, FCI, they give you very little time. So as soon as you are in diligence cycle, place that order. I think they're giving people 48 hours to wrap up diligence. So right at our average turn time, right? So either extend that a little bit or really ask us to rush it, and we'll do whatever we can to get it within 48-hour window. The second liens, typically we have two products. One is pre-bid, one is post-bid. Pre-bid, we have something called a dollar search. Some of the second lien buyers, they use that product quite a bit. It's really full automation for scraping all the ownership data and purchase data and the amount purchased and comparing that to the data tape and giving you a 95% accurate result if the note is secured or unsecured. Okay, so before you go and bid, you already know the percent of unsecured assets when you place the bid. Okay, I know Mission Capital had second spool out. A lot of people were looking at it, tons of unsecured assets. So you really have to be careful with that. Once you won the bid, you have a waterfall approach for the second liens, right? So you do a bankruptcy scrub, you look at the collateral. We have a product called second position mortgage and assignment search with the status of the first. So it costs $45, and we will give you all the assignments in a second. We will check the status of the first lien and tell you if it's in foreclosure, foreclosed, or not in foreclosure. And also we'll give you a report on any events that would wipe off the mortgage, such as tax deed, HOA deed. So we'll look at the chain of title. So it's a subset of what we'll look at the real search, current owner search. But it's geared towards the second lien market, and it's half price pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Good. That's a great breakdown, man. That was really good stuff there for you. Eric asked the question here: how do you make money on the second mortgage market? Are you just trying to take the property back?
Oh, I don't think that's a question for me. Is anybody? Fuquan is coming now. Somebody on the second team.
That's the thing. Depending on what you'll sell the discount for, because you're not really going to modify or reinstate the loan for them on a reverse mortgage. Okay, it's basically going after the property, because you as the lender can take the property back if the borrowers don't pay you off or they have the right to refinance you out. So that's where it comes from. It's not your traditional buy the note to get it modified kind of play for the most part. Okay.
Eric, so I can comment on one of the methods second lien buyers are making money, and there's tons of them. I just picked a few.
My apologies. Reverse mortgages. I said second mortgages. I totally meant reverse mortgages.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So reverse mortgages, you get a property back, right? You resell the property, so you don't flip it, you don't mod it, even though you can refinance it. But the play is you get the deed in lieu of foreclosure equivalent, and you get the property to resell.
That's exactly right. It's more of a property play than a cash flow play. One last question here. We'll let you go. Ken asked a question. Do you talk about the township search, water, and tax payoff stuff in more detail in your book? I'm about to buy the book.
Thank you. Yes. So it's there. It talks about some of the details on townships, states, what to look for, some of the examples. So I hope you find it useful, educational, and I'm expecting that, people struggle through the books. It's a lot of technical material. So if you're not serious and you're expecting your romantic book, you're not getting it from me. So it's all the states, all the regulations for all the liens that you need to know about is inside the book. So reread it, take notes, ask questions.
Exactly. Good stuff. You can always find him at Alex at protitleiusa.com or the website protitleiusa.com to get all your title needs. He's I will tell you this, Alex is the preferred vendor in the industry. All right. One of the most knowledgeable individuals in the entire industry. I'm not just talking about title, I'm talking total. So literally, this guy knows his stuff, can help save you a lot of money, save you a lot of trouble. It's well worth it. So, Alex, I'm going to let you go. Yes, Hunt, he does handle all 50 states, stuff like that. He definitely works in all 50 states out there. So take advantage of it. Go there, get one ordered now, and go out and order his book, Bulletproof Due Diligence. All right, go out and order it now. You will love it. Alex, thanks for joining us at No Camp, man. I appreciate it so much.
My pleasure. Thanks, everybody. Great comments, great questions. Love it.
Right. Good stuff. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode, or not this episode. Godly, you can hear me talking about my podcast too much. This is going to wrap it up for this session of No Camp 5.0. So we're going to take a quick 13.5-minute break. Let you run out, get some water, whatever you need to do. Come on back. We got Walter Wolford going to come live on here, the IRA deal maker, here in roughly 13 minutes.